Well, there's growing concerns that state-sponsored greenwashing is misleading consumers and failing businesses at the moment. Now, there are claims the government is promoting carbon offsetting and certifying carbon neutrality without proof that emissions are actually being offset. Joining me now is Richard Dennis, Executive Director of the Australia Institute. Richard, technology didn't want to play ball before, but we've got you back now. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Perhaps if you can just start by telling our audience a little bit about this greenwashing case.
Yeah, look, this specific case is you've got a large energy producer, Energy Australia, selling coal and gas-fired electricity, and for 10 years it's been selling some of its electricity on the claim that it's carbon neutral. And those claims that it was carbon neutral are based on the use of so-called carbon offsets, which have been shown to not really be offsetting emissions at all. So I think what's really concerning here is that it's the Australian government that's been giving the tick of approval to these offsets that's been the basis for these energy companies to make these misleading claims.
It's definitely concerning. What is the threshold by which the government says, OK, that's a tick of approval for you? How do we even know the truth?
Well, exactly. So you've got a federal government department handing out these ticks of approval, these so-called climate active approvals. And to be clear, companies like Energy Australia have been paying the Australian government to get this tick of approval. Now, this court case has made the clear point that consumers are being misled by this. That's why Energy Australia is saying they will no longer make the claims that the Australian government has actually approved. It gets worse when you realise that Chris Bowen, the relevant minister, had already announced there would be an inquiry, an investigation into Climate Active after the ACCC raised these concerns quite some time ago. And that inquiry has either never been completed or never been released. Certainly, it's way past the deadline for when we were promised it. So the government knows about this. The ACCC knows about this. What's interesting today is Energy Australia is admitting this and saying they'll no longer make the claims that, to be clear, the Australian government think are fine.
Well, there's already this ongoing debate about climate change at the moment. Then you've got consumers and businesses supposedly thinking they're doing the right thing. And if it's got a government tick of approval, then they obviously trust that. But now that's just ruined all of that, I guess. So where does this leave us moving forward? And how do businesses and consumers even move forward in their view against this climate initiative, I guess?
Look, you're spot on. You've got consumers being misled here. There's no doubt about that. And you've got companies that are doing the right thing actually being disadvantaged. So while one company might be getting all of its energy from renewable sources and another is using coal and energy but getting a green tick of approval to use offsets, that's actually unfair to the companies that are doing the right thing. So what's happening right now is bad for consumers, it's bad for businesses that are doing the right thing, and it's bad for trust and faith in the government. Research from the Australia Institute shows that 75% of Australians think it's up to the government to regulate these claims. 3/4 of Australians think it's the government's job to make sure people aren't being misled. But again, Energy Australia have been paying the Australian government to get this green tick of approval.
Yeah, well, you can't just look at something and say that it's carbon neutral or it's offsetting its emissions if you don't even really stand for that yourself, and then it's all come crumbling down essentially here. Thank you for joining us today. Interesting chat.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy our videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to get notified when we publish a new one. See you next time.